Class 10. Let us proceed with our lesson, Ideas of History. Last video I have told you about what is history and what are the branches of history that we are going to learn, and we have discussed about the social history and the new social history that had emerged in the modern studies of history. Today we are going to learn about different branches of the studies of history. The first one that we are going to discuss is the history of sports. Now, sports and games, they are the national identity. They are the forms of entertainment that man has right from the beginning had adopted in order to pass the leisure time, in order to get entertained, in order to feel fun. So sports and games, they have how they have developed, what are the different kinds of sports, and their particular game's history, like the evolution of that game. Like if it was the shooting, then from the ancient age we have to discuss about the game of shooting. Shooting is one of the important activity or game or sports which is played in competitions in the Olympic Games and the Commonwealth Games. So games events, they host the sports of shooting. In previously it was with the bow and arrow, then the bow and arrow that were made with wood and the strings, bow strings, and the arrows, different kinds of arrows, and how did they evolve right now, what is the present form of the bows and arrows, and what are the different rules and regulations of the game. These things we learn if we choose a particular sports as our study. Now, in general, the history of sports tell us about the different cultures of the world, the interaction between the nations, then the political and social and economic conditions of the area where the sports events are being held. Like if a games event, suppose the Olympic Games or the Asiads, they are held in a particular region, Asiads in Asia, we can understand that during that time the political situation of that area was calm and quiet and peaceful, and the economic condition, because holding a games event in a vast aspect or vast extent, uh, it is bound to spend a lot of money. It is for a lot of expenditure. It costs a lot. So the economic condition has to have very sound and perfect for holding such a event in such a vast extent. Now the political situation, if the political situation is not permitting, if it is disturbing, like we all know that the game of cricket between India and our neighboring country Pakistan has been stopped due to the strains in the political relationship between the two countries. So these things we come to know about when we learn about the history of sports. Now we know that in our country many sports are being played. There are the games or the sports that have come from Europe to our country, because we know that our country was subdued or ruled by the British. It was a British colony, so obviously both the games of football and cricket has been brought by the British to our country. And our native game or sports like kabaddi, kho, these are the native games, and kabaddi right now is our national game. Football is the national game of England. Rugby is the national game of USA. Likewise, kabaddi is the national game of our country. Previously it was hockey, because in hockey India had won at least 8 gold medals. But from 1983, that was the last Moscow Olympics, there the Indian hockey team had won the last gold medal, and till now the hockey team's play is not up to the mark, had not been achieved a lot of glory. So hockey has been replaced by kabaddi as the national game of our country, and also because kabaddi is our native game. Hockey is a foreign game, foreign sports brought by the foreigners in our country. But kabaddi being our native sports, it has become the national game of our country. Now we learn about the football, history of football. We know that the Mohan Bagan Club, Athletic Club, it had won the IFA Shield in the year 1911, defeating the British team, and the players had played bare feet against them, and during that time the British as the rulers, and Indians, they were the ruled, and they had defeated the British team, which was a great feat in the field of the feeling of nationalism, the sense of nationalism. It had created a great sense of national pride in the minds of the Indians, that the Indian players could defeat the British players who were both from the civilians and the military personnel. So that was a great achievement, and it was a feeling of pride for the Indian people. So the feeling of national integrity can also be learned from learning the history of sports. And we know that the game of cricket had started in England. It is also known as the game of 22 yards, because cricket, the pitch of the cricket match, it measures 22 yards, like from one stamp to the stamp at the other end. The measurement of that area is 22 yards. That is why cricket is also known as the game of 22 yards. Now the first cricket match was played in Surrey in England in the year 1709, and the Lord's Cricket Ground in England is known to be the Mecca of the international cricket. Mecca is the highest place of pilgrimage for the Muslim population. So it is the Lord's cricket ground is known as the highest peak of the international cricket. So it is the Mecca of the international cricket. The Indian Cricket Council was formed in the year, International Cricket Council was formed in the year 1965. The first International Women's Cricket Council was formed in 1958, and the first international cricket test match, a women's test match, was played in the year 1973. And also remember, the Cricket World Cup has also started from the year 1973. Though cricket is not played all over the world, uh, 14, 15 countries all together in the world, they play the cricket. Unlike football, football is played all over the world by all the nations of the world. And football has different names in different places. Like in America, football is known as soccer. The football which we play, that is known as soccer. And their football is actually the rugby. And or and then the the first games event, right now we have various games events, the Olympic games, the Commonwealth games, the Asiads, etc. So the first games event that had begun in 776 BC in Greece at Mount Athena in Athens, the Olympic Games. And since then, it had been organized during that time, it was organized every year. But right now, the Olympic Games or the FIFA World Cup or the Cricket World Cup or Commonwealth Games, these are all organized every 4 years. Uh, and I have already explained you that the Indian hockey team had won 8 times gold medal in the Olympics. And also I have explained you about the importance of the history of sports. And the sports historians, there are very many of them in our country. It is Ramchandra Guha, Kaushik Bandyopadhyay, Boria Majumdar, Mihir Basu, etc. By reading their books, we come across the various aspects of different games, basically the games of cricket and football. Um, Today we conclude over here. Next, we will continue with the history of food and other aspects of history.